Welcome to the Women's Football Show here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Kerry Pollock, Cara Henderson and Alison McConnell join me here today. Let's have a quick look at the table to see how things are shaping up. Glasgow City remain 2 points clear at the top of the table despite a 3-1 defeat at the hands of Hibs. Rangers in second after a 3-0 win over Spartans as they went down to 10. Hibs in third, Celtic tucked in fourth after a convincing 4-0 win over Hearts, who are now in fifth. Motherwell there in sixth. Thistle 5 points adrift off the top six and seventh. Spartans and Aberdeen follow. Montrose on 11, Queen's Park on 7 and Dundee United on 4 points at the foot of the table. Let's just remind ourselves of the results then. It finished Aberdeen 3, Queen's Park 0, Montrose 0, Motherwell 4, Partick 1, Partick 4, Dundee United 1, Spartans 0, Rangers 3, Hibs 3, Glasgow City 1, Celtic 4 and Hearts 0. Alison, let's just start with the most topical game of the weekend, City and Hibs. What did you make of that result?
Yeah, I think I think everyone would be surprised by it if they were being honest. I think Hibs have been excellent across the course of this campaign. Obviously, a huge win over Rangers just at the end of December, immediately prior to the winter break. But I think the anticipation would be from Glasgow City to go through and win at Meadowbank. So I think it's a result that really underlines Hibs' credentials now as title challengers. I think that may become a bit harder once the split takes place. However, what you can argue unambiguously is that this Hibs team and Hearts, I think to an extent too, really have made up ground on the top three this season. I think you're looking at a top five. How it plays out laterally will be interesting, but certainly I think Grant Scott's done a remarkable job at Hibs. I think they were more than worthy of the win yesterday. I thought they were very dominant. It could have been more. They had a goal chopped off for offside too. And I think it's fantastic for the league. I think what you're seeing is a very competitive close at that top end of the league between the top five. I think they can all take points off one another.
Absolutely, Cara. 3 goals for Hibs, 3 set pieces. Is that something, maybe a weakness that teams will look to exploit for City now?
Yeah, for sure. That would be the centre match analysis going forward, that if they're weaker, they're looking like they can be exposed at set pieces for sure. But I think it's also the execution of these things. You need a great ball in, which Ciara Grant did 3 times, and you need obviously somebody to go and finish it. And I thought that all 3 finishes, maybe one of them maybe could have done a wee bit better, but I thought they were all quite clinical and nothing less than Hibs deserved in the game as well. So it makes it really interesting, especially with Hibs in a cup final against Rangers coming up. You know, the fact that they're proving that they can take points. Obviously, they've already done it against Rangers, but it means it's really interesting. And you know, if you're Rangers, you certainly will not go into that game. Maybe they are favourites, but they won't feel like it.
For sure. On to your own game then. Thistle 4, Dundee United 1. A much needed win for the side, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, sadly still sidelined, but yes. I enjoyed watching the girls. I thought they played really good football. It was nice to see sort of getting goals in the net. It's the first win for a long time as well. And I think, as you said, it probably needed just to lift spirits a wee bit. Obviously, I've been in and around the changing room, and I think training's been really, really good since we came back from the Christmas break. So yeah, no, delighted yesterday with the 3 points, and also four goals is always nice to see as well.
You mentioned just your injury there. Where are you? Could you give us an update on that?
I don't know. Still probably I would have wanted to have been back right now, but with most things you just need to be careful. Need to make sure rehabbing it properly, because I don't want to become an issue in the future. So unsure on the timeline, but I'm definitely getting closer.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. Celtic 4, Hearts 0. Alison, surprised at that scoreline considering Hearts' form in the league?
Yeah, and obviously they beat Celtic, I think, the last time they played them. I thought Celtic started well. I thought they had a bit between their teeth, really. A bit of chaos around the game. It was obviously meant to have been played on Friday night, and then the storm put paid to that, and then, you know, scrambling about to get it rearranged for Sunday evening. I think probably the time maybe not great for wanting to get people along to it, a Sunday night in New Douglas Park. However, I think a very comfortable performance from Sadiko's side. First game, of course, without Caitlin Hayes. I think maybe a few eyes to see just how they coped with that. But I thought the fact that they started well, got into an early lead, and the game was really won by half-time, 3 goals up by the break. And I think then, you know, it was just a case of seeing it out, of managing in it. But interesting to see Abby Harrison too come off the bench and came on. So yeah, I think Celtic will be pleased. That's them now. Still got one game in hand. If they go and win that game in hand, then they would go joint top with Glasgow City. City have got a far superior goal difference, but Celtic would be level on points. It'd be a point ahead of Rangers and a point ahead of Hibs. So I think it all points to a really fraught finale again.
Absolutely. You mentioned the movements that's been going on at Celtic there. What do you make of Abby Harrison coming in from Bristol and obviously Caitlin Hayes, as you mentioned, moving on?
Yeah, I don't think there was huge surprise about Caitlin Hayes moving on. I think rumours have swirled really since the end of the last window. I think she's been very keen to go and test herself at a higher level. I think the move to England came in, and I think it's one that she was desperate to take. I think it reflects well on the SWPL. I think it's indicative of the fact that there are players here who can go on and play at a better level, go into a better league. And obviously, of course, there are financial rewards that come with that. When you compare and contrast just where the two leagues are just now, then I don't think you would begrudge anyone making that step in their career. And I'm sure that Celtic will wish Caitlin Hayes all the best. I think Celtic has probably been as good to Caitlin as Caitlin has been to Celtic, so I think it makes sense all round. How Celtic cope now will be interesting. I think what's been fairly notable is that there's still not a lot of money to bring in replacements, to go and bring in players to come in and cover. Elena Sadiku had said last week that she had identified a centre-half when it became known in December that the move to Brighton for Caitlin Hayes was definitely going to take place. However, it looks unlikely that they're going to have the funds in place to do it, which I think probably raises an eyebrow. Abby Harrison has come in a free, but it's a short-term loan. It's a short-term deal. She's only there for 6 months until the end of the window, so we'll see what kind of impression she makes. But I think that's quite a shrewd acquisition. I think an international player, a player of some quality, coming in, and I think there were glimpses of what she can offer just in the closing stages yesterday.
Absolutely. Well, moving on to Rangers then. Rangers 3, Spartans 0. It took Rangers until the 63rd minute, Cara, to open the scoring against Spartans. Is it just a case of when you come up against a team like Rangers, frustrate them, try and sit in, don't give them the space, the opportunities?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly it, because you know that they're going to have the majority of the ball, and they've got so much quality that you want to limit the space. You basically want them to play in front of you so that you can kind of frustrate them for as long as possible. And I'm sure that'll be in the game plan, because when you get past half time, you kind of start to think, well, they're definitely going to need to, hopefully rush things, hopefully panic. I mean, obviously the problem is that normally their quality does shine through, and you can obviously see that, especially with Spartans going down to 10 men, that won't have helped. But I think there's definitely that'll definitely be the case, that the longer you frustrate these teams, you kind of hope that they panic. But as I said, that it very, very rarely works out like that, because they usually have enough quality over and above to get the result.
A lot of the time as well, though, teams say that it's sometimes harder to play against 10 than your 11, because
you're just plugging the gaps at that point, and you probably have settled for the fact that you're going to have to sit and you're going to have to defend for your lives. And the problem is, though, when you've got 10 men, you're doing a little bit extra running, and the fact of the matter is that they do move the ball with their phases of play so clinically, they work on that so much that you become tired, you become that little extra 5 yards that maybe your teammate could have covered, you're having to do that. And as the game wears on, that's when it just becomes so much harder, because as you'd expect, their fitness levels are so high as well. So harsh on Spartans, but then at the same time, it's an important victory for Rangers to get, because you definitely don't want to slip up anymore in the league, any of the teams at the top.
I would say maybe just past halfway in the season now. Do you reassess as a team your targets, your ambitions for the season? How would you look
I don't know. I think it's hard. I think that the split is probably the best time to do that, because right now you might have played every team, some of the teams once or twice, but you've then got to, if you're in that top 6, you're still playing Rangers, Celtic, they're all playing each other another couple of times, and that totally changes. You can see how quickly the league can go up and down. So I would say that'll probably be the more evaluative time in terms of, right, we've got to play them all twice, especially then you're playing Hearts and Hibs, and they've proved that they can take points off you. That's what makes it more interesting, in terms of the fact that there's no weeks where you might be, okay, right, we could go and, this is a banked win. They might, they can't look at the league and think that anymore. So I think that will probably be the time where the teams will start to think, right, okay, where are we at?
And your run coming up just before we finish, Aberdeen, Hearts, then Rangers. What do you need to take into those games?
We need to win. It's quite easy for me to be like, we need to win them all, but if we want to push Motherwell, we would need to win all 3 games, and that's obviously Aberdeen first, and that's going to be a really tough game as well, because Scott Booth is now, he's got players in, he's had longer with the team now, so I think that'll be a really tough test. So Aberdeen first, but the truth of the reality of the situation is, to get in that top 6 place, which we'd want, we do need to start taking points.
Still an ambition for the team?
Of course, yeah. I mean, obviously, as I said a couple of weeks ago, we know where we're at. We've got absolutely no qualms about where we're at. We deserve to be where we are, because we've not finished teams off when we should have, or we've missed chances, or we've not played well enough. We've actually got lucky sometimes, probably with a draw. So it's probably not in our hands, which is not what we want. But either way, we've just got to keep doing what we're doing, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of myself, Alison and Cara, thanks for listening and thanks for watching.